Welcome to the Hope Natural Health Podcast. I'm Dr. Erin Ellis, your host. On this show, we discuss all things health, hormones, and happiness with a little side of this thing called life. Katharine Giovanni, a 3-time award-winning best-selling author of 12 books, is a dynamic speaker, trainer, and advisor. Her latest work, The Ultimate Path to Forgiveness, Unlocking Your Power, offers profound insights into the transformative power of forgiveness. She is recognized as one of the original founders of the independent concierge industry. We are going to be talking all about forgiveness and Katharine's approach to that. So welcome to the show, Katharine.
Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Great. Well, before we dive into, the meat and potatoes of this, I really want to learn more about you and what led you to write about forgiveness and why you feel it's a powerful tool for personal transformation.
Well, when I was a kid, I was raised in a very pickled family, meaning they were both alcoholics. And I was bullied horribly in school. And in the 8th grade, because of all of these things, I tried to commit suicide. And I turned into one of those teenagers, the ones I'm talking about, right? They were the dark, angry kids. So I just kind of drifted through life for the next 15 years until my mother fell down a flight of stairs, broke her hip, and ended up in the hospital. And even my mother couldn't get a gin and tonic in the hospital. So she dried out. And we sent her to rehab. And I spent the next 3 years, we were closer than sisters, and it was beautiful. And then she died of breast cancer. And I realized right then that that was my flashpoint in my life. And I realized if I didn't change everything, I was going to die too. So I've been sober for 34 years, and I cleaned up my act, got married, and eventually started the concierge industry. But in those days, I could teach you the most beautiful words in the world to say. I could tell you how to look, how to dress. But if you're angry, it's not going to do a lick of good because it's going to bleed through your body language, whether you want it to or not. So I had to come up with a way to get people to lose their anger fast. And that's when I started teaching forgiveness.
Why are so many people angry?
I think the world that we're in is angry. I'm a breast cancer survivor. So, when I was going through treatment, you run into people who were just so angry. They're angry at their lives. They're angry at themselves. When I was in treatment for alcoholism, they're very angry. They're angry at themselves. Maybe they bottomed out. Somebody did something horrible to them. But in those treatment rooms, they want you to go through the steps, don't they? And they want you to reach out and talk to people. Okay. I am an extroverted introvert now, but back then I was painfully shy. So your girl did not want to call people who were going to yell at her. So my method of forgiveness doesn't require you to reach out and talk to anybody. Forgiveness is selfish. You do it for you. You don't do it for them. It doesn't mean you're giving them a pass and saying all of a sudden you're right. They're not. They're still wrong. They're still a dumpster fire. See, the thing about forgiveness is everybody listening to this broadcast, 10 out of 10 people on a 10 scale, with 10 being unforgivable, garbage truck, toxic waste, and 1 being the easiest person to forgive, y'all are thinking of your number 10s. That's why forgiveness is so hard, because you immediately reach for the person who hurt you the most, and you don't want to forgive them. And that's fair. It's totally fair.
So what is that some of the misconceptions about forgiveness, or what are some common misconceptions about forgiveness?
Well, the thing about forgiveness is you do it for you. You don't do it for them. Just because I forgive you doesn't mean I want a relationship with you. I probably don't. Just because I forgive you, and I'm going to say this again because I get asked this question over and over multiple times. And I think we learned this in school, or our parents taught us this, but they say, if I forgive, it means they were right. And I don't want to do that because they weren't right. They hurt me. And I'm here to tell you that's not a fair statement. Forgiveness is selfish. You do it for you. Forgiveness for me simply means I want you out of my head. That's it. I want to stop thinking about you. I want to stop talking about you. But the reason you're still in my head is, here's the secret sauce to the whole thing. You didn't forgive the energy. Einstein proved that energy is neither created nor destroyed. It just transforms from one thing to another. And when you get mad, you think that it leaves your mouth and it dissipates and magically into the universe. It does not. It stays in your energy field. So when I say I want you to forgive, I want you to start with the easy ones, work your way up. And I want you, and I can go through the actual method if you want me to, and I want you to forgive the energy around each of the people, because at the end of the day, that's the key piece. I even forgave 1974, the actual year. Why? Because that's the year I tried to commit suicide. I forgave breast cancer. You can forgive people, places, and things, because everything on our planet, including this little microphone in front of me, has energy around it. Einstein proved that too. So forgive the energy so you can have it stop being living rent-free in your head.
I love that. I would love to hear the process if you don't mind sharing.
Oh, I don't mind at all. So I'm going to have people sit down and I'm going to have you write all the people you think you need to forgive. Let it all out. And if weird things end up in your paper, like a friend of mine wrote down a little red wagon, she didn't remember a little red wagon. She had no idea why it was on her paper. Yet there it was. So she labeled it a level 1 forgiveness, and she forgave the dumb thing, because I guess some part of her back corners of her mind must have needed to forgive a little red wagon. The brain is an outstanding, awesome tool, and it protects you. And forgiveness is like the layers of an onion. So you forgive, and the first layers of the onion are going to start to fall away, and your brain's going to go, oh, wow, she's forgiving. I'm ready. And they're going to open that back closet of your mind, and memories are going to flood out that you don't remember. It's a process. This is a marathon, not a sprint. So once you get your list together, I want you to rate them from 1 to 10. And you could have 20 number 5s for all I care. I don't care. And you could skip a number. I also don't care. And I want you to start with the first people and work your way up to the number 10s. And easy people could be somebody took your shovel in the sandbox, because I literally want you to write people down from the time you were in the sandbox to present day. It could be the person who cut you off on aisle 5 of the grocery store yesterday. You could forgive that person. How about the person who stole your sandwich at the office from the kitchen? Come on now. You could forgive that person. We hope you could forgive that person. Easy people. How about the football team that lost last week? You could forgive them, I hope. Come on now. They had a bad night. So these are the easy ones that you can forgive, and you really work your way up into the hard ones. And what I want you to do, and you can forgive dead people, to be blunt, because you're doing it for you. You don't have to reach out and talk to these people. So where they are or are not doesn't matter a lick, does it? If they're alive and well inside your mind in a memory that still irritates you, then you can forgive it. So I want you to sit down in the middle of your bed, and I want you to imagine the person who's standing in front of you as you knew them. Like if it's somebody from grammar school, you would remember the grammar school kid. And then if you want to let them have it, do it. You're alone in a room. This is your party, and you could scream and cry if you want to. Say whatever you want. And then I want you to say, I completely forgive Erin. I completely forgive the energy around Erin. I completely forgive myself. I forgive the energy around myself. I completely forgive the energy around the entire situation. And so it is. And there's worksheets and the mantra all in my book, that kind of thing. And then I want you to imagine that they leave the room. Now, if for those of you who can't imagine them inside your mind, put a chair in front of you, and you can put their name on the chair and talk to the chair. That's totally fine. It's all the same, right? And one of the several things will happen when you do this, and starting with the easy ones, and we'll talk about the number 10s in a minute, but you're going to probably be really tired, because that's what your body does. So I want you to do this before bed, because your body heals itself when it sleeps. So I want you to do this before bed, and try and not do more than 5 or 10 at a time, so you don't make yourself sick. This is serious, serious energy. And when I did this, I thought, I had 50 people down on the list, and I thought, this is going to be great. I'm going to be like a phoenix rising from the ashes. I'm going to, all my life, I'm going to get rid of everything. I'm going to be a brand new person tomorrow. didn't work out that way because I did forgive many people on the list, but I actually spent the next 3 days in bed what everybody thought was a stomach flu, politely said. It was not the stomach flu. It was my body trying to get rid of all that toxic anger that had been stored up for so many decades. And it was the only way my body knew to get rid of it. So if you only do anywhere from 3 to 8 a night, your body will be able to mitigate it when you sleep.
So is this something that we do one time, or is it something that you recommend doing a few times a year? Or how do we really tap into when do we need to forgive?
Probably won't like my answer. I do this every night before I go to bed.
I was going to say, is it a nightly thing?
Forgiveness is in levels. You might kick out the people you rate a 1, 2, or 3. These are easy people. And when my older son did this, he called me and he said, my shoulders feel lighter and I'm not sure why. Scientifically, this should not be happening. Yet his shoulders felt lighter. Some people feel movement in their solar plexus, which is really just the energy center in the middle of your belly. Yeah. Most people get really tired or really thirsty. This is all signs. How do you know you've forgiven these people? You can look at their name on Facebook or go to a party and see them, and you freaking don't care.
Yeah.
You don't care good. You don't care bad. You literally don't care. And you'll catch yourself and you'll stare at the name and you will dawn on you that I'm not angry. I don't care. That's what I'm looking at. I'm looking for neutrality. That adage that people say, forgive and forget, I don't know who came up with that saying, but it's wrong. It's like the useless saying, I'm going to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Why are we throwing stones at birds? They didn't do anything to you. This is the same kind of thing. Why are we doing this? Because I don't know anybody on the planet that can forget. But I can promise you neutrality. You can look back at your childhood and it won't bother you anymore. You can still tell the stories. You're not going to forget them. But I can look back at my toxic childhood and I could see the pockets of love and I could see the adults that were there to help me. And I don't remember the bad stuff as much anymore.
What happens
I want you to work your way up to the 10s because they're a bear.
Yeah. So what happens if you've had a lot of trauma or maybe instances in the past that you can't remember, but you know you need to forgive? Do you have any recommendations? Like, can you just start forgiving like a general time frame?
Yes. Okay. Absolutely.
If you don't remember the specifics.
You will. Because it's like an onion. And your brain is playing these movies in the back of your head and you don't know they're there. So as soon as you start to forgive, your brain is going to start spitting out memories at you. So let's talk about the unforgivable ones. There are things in this world, and I'm probably the only one that will tell you this, but there are things in this world and people that are completely unforgivable. And that's fine. You don't have to forgive them. Okay. Because we can't. But there's other people, places, and things, and I did say places and things, that you can forgive before you even get to the actual person itself. So I want you to pick apart the memory. Everything in the world has energy around it, as I say. So let's say it's a bully from grammar school and you can't forgive the bully because you've carried it for too many years. Okay, that was mine, but let's go there anyways. So what I did is I remembered the memory. So I forgave the school building, the energy around the school building. I forgave the table, the desk, the chair, the kids that stood around and didn't help me, and the energy around all these things. And I picked apart the memory. And then I forgave myself and the energy around myself for anything I may or may not have done. And I still couldn't forgive the bully, but I could forgive everything else in the memory. So I did that. And then I waited a week and I made another pass. And eventually I got that number 10 bully down to a forgivable number. And you're not going to get a number 10 person down to a 1 overnight. It's going to take a minute. This might take a couple minutes. This might take a couple of weeks, couple months. You may never be able to forgive that number 10. That's fine. Forgive what you can and keep going. Because if you pull apart the memory, that's probably all you need to get the person out of your head, and you can just stuff it and keep going. Seriously.
I love that.
Forgive what you can and keep going.
Yeah. So I was going to ask something about anger. So if we don't forgive, we're obviously hanging on to a lot of this anger. So can you explain the connection between holding on to the anger and its effects on your health and wellness?
Sure. I love this. I'll bring science into it. Love
Good.
science. Have
Do
a whole
it.
chapter on science.
Which book are you referring
There
to,
was
by the
a,
way, of your 12?
excuse me?
Which book of your
Oh,
12 are you referring
I'm
to?
The Ultimate Path
The
to
Ultimate
Forgiveness,
Path?
Unlocking Your
Okay.
Power.
Perfect.
So there was a Japanese water study. You can Google Japanese water study. I promise it'll come right up. Guy named, I want to say his first name was Matsumoto. I always get his name wrong. And what he did is he took 2 containers of water, several containers. One container of water, he did nothing but speak to it, spoke loving words. He loved it, said he loved it. The other container of water, he spilled hate at. Absolute toxic words to it. Then he froze the water and he put it under a microscope. The water that he spoke love to had these beautiful formations in it. The water he spoke hate to had these malformations, these ugly black and brown kind of looking things. Why am I telling you this? The body is like 95, 96% water. So when your self-talk is bad, when you are holding onto anger and bitterness, when people say anger is toxic, this is the how. What do you think you're doing to the water molecules within your body? You're turning them into that toxic stuff and you're making yourself sick. And that's why people say, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. So as you forgive the easy ones, you're going to start clearing the water molecules in your body. You're going to start, and you're going to start to feel better. And your energy is going to, around your body's going to start getting better. And people are going to notice. They're going to say, did you get a haircut? Or, you look so good today. And you can tell them or not. It's up to you. So if it has the power to change the water molecules for a level 1, 2, or 3 person, imagine how much your body will change when you get into the higher numbers. And you're going to start to pay attention again, because all of a sudden you're not going to be focusing on your anger all the time. You're going to be able to see other things, like a new way of healing for the sickness that you have, or a new career that you didn't notice before, or your dream relationship might walk in. Why didn't you notice these things before? Well, you couldn't because you were focused on the anger. That's what forgiveness does. It frees you. I even forgave cancer. I forgave the chemo. I forgave the chemo chair. I forgave radiation. I forgave the radiation slab. God, I hated that. They ask you to give you your birthday every single solitary day for weeks on end. So I used to say 1961, and then one day I said my birthday was in 1951, and she leveled me a look that I will never forget. And I said, well, if you think I'm 10 years older than I am, how good do you think I look right now? So I kept changing my birthday every time I went in. It was stupid. But I forgave all the nurses. I forgave all the doctors. I forgave everything. And it allowed me to get through those days easier than I would have. Because in the world, you can take the local train or you can take the express. I've had men look at me and say, my hate and my anger have gotten me where I am today. That's the gasoline I used to get where I was. It's why I woke up every day. Okay, that's true. You did get to where you got. You can get there with the local train. It's going to be painful and bumpy and you're going to bleed, but you can get there. But if you take the express with forgiveness and love, you'll get there twice as far, twice as fast, and it won't be as painful.
I love that. Saying. How I would assume that your answer would be yes, but I would assume that it would be important to put your own self on your list of people to forgive.
Yeah. This is the first book of 3. And my second book in the series is going to be How to Forgive Yourself. Forgiving yourself is the hardest person to forgive. Your number 10s are probably family. They're probably a business partner. That's usually, or something that really awful that happened to you. But yourself, a lot of people put themselves as the one they needed to forgive. And the only way I could forgive myself, because we're humans, so we all have stuff in our past that we don't like, I compartmentalized my life. So I looked at the teenage Katharine, and she was a rebel, and she was a screw up, but she did the best that she could with the tools she had. She had to create a personality to survive in a very dark place. I can forgive that kid. And then I went into the kid who was in her 20s. I can forgive that kid too, because she had limited tools available. She hadn't learned a lot. I can't get mad at somebody in the 5th grade for not knowing trigonometry. They haven't learned it yet. And I kind of did a dive, and I kind of forgave each version of myself and each memory as they came up. That's why I tell people, this is a marathon. It's not a sprint. This is going to take some work. A lot of people call this shadow work because you're working on stuff that happened in the past. But you're going to feel so much better.
I love that. I know you kind of touched a little bit on a personal story, but can you share another example of how forgiveness has transformed either your life or someone else's?
Yeah, forgiveness, it just transformed me because I literally, and I'm not kidding, I can look back at my toxic childhood and I really can see the pockets of love that were there. And I used to wear my past as my armor. It was my story. I was proud I survived alcoholism and alcoholic family. I was proud of the fact I survived suicide. I was proud that I made it out, and I created stories. I wrote about it, that kind of thing. And the thought of giving up your story, well, that's a scary thing, isn't it? Because if you don't have your story, who are you? That's scary. Fear of the unknown. But once I gave up the story, I started to become the person that I was always meant to be. And I could be that person with all that hate that I was carrying around. And now that the hate is gone, I literally can look at my childhood and I can see the pockets of love, because I can. I mean, it's a great thing. Now, let me stretch your brain with another story real quick. And this will stretch people's brains. I promise it won't hurt that much. The law of forgiveness is very much like the law of gravity. It's going to work whether you believe it or not. Doesn't matter. So I forgave a level 1 friend of mine from school 40, 50 years ago. I am that old. And I thought, this is going to be easy. I don't even remember what we were angry about. It was so many decades ago. And I hadn't heard from her in decades. Not a peep. So I sat in the middle of my bed, and I do my own stuff. So I did exactly what I just told you guys to do. I forgave her, and I watched her, virtually leave the room. 2 hours later, she calls me up on the phone. I hadn't heard from her in decades. And of course, my concierge training kicked in immediately because I wanted to hide my shock. And so we made all the right noises and all the right words, and we did what people do, and we reminisce, that sort of thing. But I'm a curious little bear, and I had to know. I said, after all these decades, why did you call me today? She said, it's the darndest thing. 2 hours ago, which was exactly when I was saying the forgiveness mantra, a figurine you gave me in school flew off my shelf and landed in the middle of my floor. And I saw it and thought I should give you a call.
Wow.
700 miles away from me.
Dang.
So if forgiveness energy has the power to change the water cells in your body and move a figurine 700 miles away, what do you think it's going to do for your life? The more money that you want, the career that you want, the relationships that you want, the health from cancer that you want is all within your grasp.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Powerful.
I love that. I love it. What else can you share about forgiveness that we might not have touched on?
I think that people are scared of forgiveness because it's like Pandora's box. And they're scared if they open the box, stuff that they don't want to admit will come out of the box.
Yep.
And that's fair. But why do you want to carry around Pandora's box?
Yeah.
So my advice to everybody is read the book. And a lot of people do this work on their own. Some people need a buddy. That's fine. And if you have a safe buddy, someone who you can tell your deep, darkest secrets to. My only PSA with that is make sure the person you're doing this exercise with isn't on your list.
I was going to say, they better not be on your list.
They better not be on your list because that's not going to end well, really. So it sometimes choose a sibling or a best friend or something like that. That's perfectly fine. And I do private sessions all the time. But this work, opening up Pandora's box, is actually going to free you.
It's a lot like therapy.
It's very much like therapy.
Like a lot of people don't want to do therapy because they don't want to open up, the past demons or the past emotions that they've, suppressed in their subconscious brain. And I talk a lot about past traumas in what I do with health and wellness. And a lot of times we call these the obstacles to cure. It's like, well, if we can't address the past and work on that, I can't heal you. We've got to get rid of, this past trauma and all of that. So yeah, it's tough. But once you get through it, it's, just like the forgiveness, you're a new person.
You are 100% a new person, and it's toxic. The devil is better than the devil you don't. I'm used to this pain. I've learned to manage it. I'm fine with it. But you're not really managing it well very much, because the longer you hold on to pain, we're humans. We irritate other humans, and humans irritate us. So you're adding to the pain. So you have that original pain from your childhood, and now you're just adding into the cup.
Yeah.
To the point where you get sick. Literally, you get sick. Is that why I got breast cancer? Maybe. We'll never know, but it could be. Who knows?
Yeah.
But
that's true.
Eventually, you're going to make yourself sick. So by opening Pandora's box, by purposely diving in, you're going to start to feel better. Now, let's be clear. I am not advising you to clear that number 10 dumpster fire first. I am advising you to do the easy ones first. You have a long way to go before you get to those 8s, 9s, and 10s. You do the easy ones first. Every night before you go to bed, don't do more than 10. And every night you do the easy ones, and you're going to start to feel better. Your body's going to start to feel better. The world is going to start to look a little more positive. And you can forgive anything. You can forgive politicians, dare I say. You could forgive the war in the Middle East if you wanted to. What is that going to do for the war in the Middle East? Not a darn thing, but it's going to do an awful lot for you. You can forgive your football team for losing last week. If it's in your head and it's making you angry, it can be forgiven and tossed.
Yep. Oh, I love
And
this.
you can forgive all these people, and I haven't even gotten to my number 10s yet.
Yeah.
See where I am? So by the time you do decide to get into that serious Pandora's box, you'll be more ready for it, because you will have tossed a lot of the anger, and you're going to start to feel better. Or you'll never get to the number 10, and you know what? It's fine. It's totally fine. If you think it's unforgivable and you don't want to touch it, then don't.
Yeah. Okay. We got this. We got this, team. Let's start forgiving.
That's right.
So Katharine has her wonderful books, her new book, The Power of Forgiveness, Unlocking Your Power. I'm assuming you can find that Amazon?
Yep. You can find
Perfect.
the ebook, the audiobook, and the paperback all on Amazon. And you can go to my website, which is katharinegiovanni.com. And Katharine, thanks to my mother, is spelled a little bit differently. Thanks, Mom.
It is.
Katharine Giovanni.com.
Hey, you got to be different, right?
Yeah,
you forgive her? Did you forgive her? Did you forgive her for that weird spelling?
I do. I forgive Mom for giving me that, saddling me that with that very strange spelling. My husband is a very smart guy, and he actually got the domain of Katharine spelled with an E, Katherine, because he figured people would misspell it. So he grabbed that domain too. So all roads lead to Rome. He's a smart guy.
Oh, that's great. I mean, I deal with the same thing with my name, Erin. Everybody spells it wrong, because people spell it with like a boy. I'm like, I'm not a boy, it's a girl, but they don't know.
That's right.
So, I forgive them. Anyways,
those are the easy ones.
I know. They'll be on my list. But yes, pick up her book. We'll have all of her social media accounts listed in the show notes. But we'll wrap up with one tip one last question I ask all my guests. What would be your best or favorite health tip that you can share with the audience?
Stay positive. It's like taking a shower. You have to do it every day. And when I had cancer, staying positive was a second by second choice because of the pain and all the stuff that I had to go through. I was sick for 4 years, stage 3, triple positive breast cancer, and all that comes with it. So staying positive actually is one of the reasons I'm still here. Your mindset is possibly one of the most important tools in your tool belt when you're sick.
Yep. I can attest to that as well. So, Katharine, you are such a light, and it's been an honor to have you on the show today. I really appreciate your time. And is there anything else that you want to say before we sign off?
Just that you are worthy enough to lead a life of joy and happiness. This is your birthright. We're not meant to live in a refrigerator box on the street. You're meant to live in joy and happiness. You are worthy enough to have this type of life.
Yep. Great advice. Well, thank you again for being on the show, and we'll be back next week with another episode. Thank you so much for listening. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, and leave a comment below. And if you haven't done so, please be sure to give us a rating on your favorite podcast platform. Join us weekly as we inspire you to be your best version. For more, follow me on Instagram at dr.erinellis. Until next week, you got this.